Well, this was a bit of a beast of a video to record. I've recorded almost every amp that I have in order to make this video, so I really hope you enjoy it. This is the giveaway video for my 6,000 sub giveaway of the Kingtone, the Duellist pedal, and the giveaway is somewhere in the middle of this video, and I hope you enjoy it. Just to say, this is not really a scientific one. This is an absolute blast to answer a certain question. Let's get into it. So someone asked me a really interesting question in the comments of the last video, which was, do you think it's the amp or the pedal? Like, if you use the same pedal on different amps, how does it affect the sound that's coming out of the amp or the pedal? And it's one of those things that's actually quite easy to demonstrate, but it's going to take me a while. So we're going to basically do this test using loads of amps. The Roseland, that's the Bartel Roseland, the Matchless HC30, the 2 Rock Classic Reverb Signature, my 1967 Vibrolux, my Lazy J J10, my Rift Aynsley Lister, my Tone Master Super Reverb, my Tone King Sky King, my Hook R20. I think that's it. Oh, and maybe, if I can figure out how to use it, the UA Dream pedal thing that will plug directly in. So that's 10. Now, what pedal? Well, I wanted it to be a reasonably transparent pedal, but I thought it'd be fun, because this is the giveaway video too, to use the giveaway pedal. If you didn't know, unfortunately you've missed out this time, but I do giveaways quite frequently, and I have now got a huge box of names ready to pull one when I hit 6,000 subs. If you'd subbed and commented and basically I'd pick your name out, and someone today is going to win this pedal. Now I'm going to be a bit cheeky. I'm going to throw this into the middle of the video and not timestamp it. That's very selfish of me, I'm sorry, but basically I'm giving this away, and in return you might have to watch at least half the video, because most people watch about a third before they click off. I need to make my videos more interesting, but that's up to me. But today I've got a bit of a draw. You're going to find out if you've won this pedal. So how's it going to work? I'm going to use one guitar. I'm going to use a Strat, the Paul Waller Masterbuilt HSS Strat, which gives us a bit of variation between the bridge and the neck pickup. I'm then going to play sort of 20 seconds of the amp and 20-30 seconds of the pedal. The pedal settings I will set using the first amp and then not change the pedal at all. And for each amp, I'm going to set it a bit like a clean platform. This isn't about showing the amp off to its best. This is about showing the relationship between the pedal and an amp throughout such a range of amps. And with the Roseland Bartel, the Bartel Roseland, I'm going to use the more Marshall-y type setting, because I've got plenty of blackface and I've got a tweed amp, so I don't need to use it for that. Right, if that's all too confusing, let's start with the first amp and with the pedal, and I'm just explaining what I'm doing, and then we'll roll through these with just a little bit of me talking from time to time. All right, let's get going. All right, guys, we're going to start with the 2 Rock Classic Reverb Signature. I'll show you the settings on the screen, but basically I've set it as I would, so it's not got too much bass, because the bass on this amp can be massive. I've not got the gain too high, but it's enough just to give it some character. And I've got the gain structure at the top, which is the 2 Rock, the default position. So let's just hear it as it is, and I'll tell you what the dB is as well. I've got a little meter here. So that mainly stayed around the mid-90s. At the end, at last hit was 99. So I've got the heavier hand set up. I just tinkered for a second before I started recording, so I think we're all good to go. So that took it more to like 98 to 104. I think it sounded awesome, that real edgy, edge of breakup SRV style, which is what you want with this amp, and that's what this pedal has done for this amp. So I'm excited now to move on to the next one. Let's go quite left field. I wouldn't consider the Matchless and the Heavy Hand to go together with the Strat, and so I'm quite excited to see, and I haven't played the Matchless in ages. So we're going to start rolling through these a bit quicker now. I'll show you the settings on the screen and we'll just go for it. So I was quite surprised there at how the Heavy Hands character really still came through with the Matchless, but it had a lot of the Matchless DNA sort of still in there. And this is where I start to see how an amp's character and a pedal's character sort of come together. But hopefully over the next several amps we'll see more and more whether you get more of the amp character, more of the pedal character, and how does each affect the other. With the Matchless there was a lot more sustain and sort of singing, and the mids and upper mids, and it was a bit more sort of rocky than it was bluesy, but I really enjoyed it. Anyway, next one. So next we've got the Bartel Roseland in a sort of Marshall setting, and basically you drop the bass for that and it changes the gain structure to give it some Marshall character. But what makes it quite different from the sort of Fender-y amps that I would usually think of this pedal working best with is it doesn't have that big bottom end. So it'd be interesting to see how that works, and we're straight away going to compare it with the Hook R20, which is very much a Fender-y style thing, like a hot-rodded Fender-y SRV amp, basically. So a real good comparison between the two. The Hook has got so much bottom end, and we'll see how the pedal copes with that as well. I'm going to run the Bartel clips and the Hook clips one after the other. So I think with the Roseland in that particular setting, it wasn't ideal. There's not enough bottom end there for me to give it that full fat character. But I mean, I could have changed the setting on the heavy hand to have the fat setting on, which would have helped add something, but that's not the idea of this video. So in that sense, you can see that the amp's character definitely changes what you're hearing. And then with the hook, it's much more what I expected, and to me, more what I would want with a Strat with this sort of pedal that's clearly been, you know, the designer, Jesse Davey, and player, has clearly designed it to create that sound, one of those sounds, you know, the sort of big Fender amp Strat sound. And it excels at that. And so the character of that sort of amp just gets sort of sweetened with the pedal, whereas with different types of amps, it's the amp's character really pushes through more. But you know, ultimately with the Bartel, for example, I could have set it completely differently, but I wanted to give that contrast. Okay, now we're going on to a tweed amp, which is the Lazy J J10. I used this in the last video comparing the 3 Strats, and it does great things with a Strat. I'm very impressed by this small amp. So let's hear how it sounds. Oh, what I've decided with this one and the next couple of amps is to also use the Wampler Tumnus. And the reason that I'm doing that is to show that it's not just the pedal pushing the front end of the amp and to create the sound by pushing the preamp of the amp. It's the actual character of the sort of gain structure of the pedal as well that affects the sound. So we're going to hear the difference between the heavy hand and the clon type pedal, the Tumnus, and to see how the amps react as well. So the Tumnus is a really good clone actually. I've compared a lot of them, even made a video about that. And it does what a clone is supposed to do, and it's sweet. It's got a really sweet tone with a bit of a mid kick and also that sustain. But it's very different sounding from the heavy hand, from the blues breaker type. And that shows that it's not just about the amp. You're not just pushing the front end of the amp. The pedal itself gives character. In both cases, they make the Lazy J sound really good, I think. I mean, I wouldn't personally choose the Tumnus with this Strat because, especially in the bridge position, it's already got that sort of mid-focused sound to it with the humbucker. But as a demonstration, I think it's quite useful. So the next one is my Vibrolux. All right, guys, I hope you found this interesting so far. It's time for the actual giveaway now. Super excited about this. I always love seeing who's going to win. And yeah, it's really cool giving away pedals, you know, because I use a lot of expensive gear on the channel, and I just think it's always good to give back when you can afford to. And if I'm not using something, I'm happy to give it away, which you'll also see with the next giveaway. Right, just going to pick one. Here we go. Okay. We got a John Brennan. All right. Well, look, congratulations, John. email me. The email address is down in the description box, but also leave a comment if you want to. Congratulations, man. Really cool pedal. What I want to say to everyone else is I hope you're not disappointed, because the next giveaway will be at 7,500 subs. And if you stick around to near the end of the video, I'm going to show you what that pedal is going to be, and then I'll announce it again properly in another video. But yeah, don't be disappointed. There's another chance to win soon, and I'm not saying that the pedals get better and better, because we've reached a really high point with the pedals now, but equally good pedal to give away next time. Okay, let's carry on. Now I'm going to split this one into two parts, and the first time it's filmed with the amp volume at about 5, which is still clean on this amp, and then we're going to do it all over again when it's on the edge of breakup, which will probably be about 7, but I'll find out. I haven't filmed that yet. But yeah, let's hear it on 5 with the heavy hand and with the tumness. So I feel like the pedal had to do a lot of the heavy lifting on this one, because the amp was set pretty clean. I mean, you know, 5 is quite loud, but it's surprisingly clean. Although I think it's, you know, if this was at 2.5 or 3, then we wouldn't get this great quality of sound. You know, the amp is doing something, but I'm intrigued to hear what it sounds like when I whack the Vibrolux up a bit more. So let's hear that. This old Fender amp, I mean, I love it anyway. I've got a real soft spot for it. It's got so much character. You don't even really need a pedal. But what I find fantastic is whether you're playing it at 5 or at 8, it allows the pedal to shine through. Yeah, this is quite a clean platform depending on the guitar you're using. And although you can really dig in and get different dynamics out of it, it's great that it would allow you... I imagine if I had recorded the volume at 2 or 3, it would sound really good as well. You know, always as you open up the amp, it starts to sound better. And then almost as the volume gets too high, it starts to also just squash and get too much. I think 8 is okay. Any more volume on there and it might start to fall apart. But essentially, with this sort of amp, these big Fender amps, really good for pedals because you can distinctly hear the difference, and yet there is a flavour of that Fender loveliness that I love that comes through, and of course the reverb, which is always special. All right, next we have the Rift Aynsley Lister. Let's jump straight into that. I'll talk about it afterwards. So this is an amp for which you really don't actually need pedals. I mean, it was designed with Aynsley Lister, who doesn't or didn't use many pedals. He started using a few more. I think he got a bit bored of not being able to play around with pedals. And the amp, you can just whack it up and then use your guitar volume to get everything you need out of it. So I've set it the way I would set it, which is also the way that Aynsley himself showed me how to set it, and then use the pedals. So we can see what a real life situation with this amp would be. Normally you would possibly just use a clean boost with this just to increase the sort of overall volume of it without pushing the front end anymore. But I think this is interesting that whilst it kept that Marshall-y tone, or that specific Rift AL tone, the pedals actually just really were a sweetener, right? You felt the quality of the pedal and the distinct sound of each pedal, but you also kept the quality of the amp. And for me, that's like the perfect marriage. I'm not someone who would love to just use a clean pedal platform. I mean, if I was in a stereo setting, then possibly one clean platform and one more characterful sound. And so an amp like this, which has enough headroom, even when you've pushed the preamp quite a lot, to allow the pedals in and not to fall apart. And I think that's something to do with the design of the actual cabinet itself. It's large, but not too fat. It's quite thin. It doesn't have too much bottom end. I think it's a clever design. And the speaker, the Eminence, the Governor speaker, which I just find really holds together tight. It's not a flubby speaker at all. So overall, I think this is a good way to show how a cooked amp can still work really well with pedals, and not every demo needs to be with just a clean platform. I can see the point of that, but I also enjoy showing you what a pedal can do when you put it into a really great amp that's cooking already. Okay, next is the Tone King Sky King, which is an amp I use a lot for practice, which is a bit of an indulgence really, but it's got a great attenuator that allows me to practice at lower volumes, which is good for my ears and good for everyone else. And if you don't know about this amp, it's another Bartel amp before he made Bartel amps, the Sky King, and it's got a huge, big sort of vintage blackface sound to the clean channel, which is what I'm using. So let's hear what that sounds like. So I've stopped using the tumness now. That was just for a few demos to see the difference. But this amp is pretty much perfect for this pedal. If you watch Jesse Davies' own demos of his pedals, he always uses a slightly cooking Fender style amp, as far as I can tell. I think he has some modded amps that he uses. And so I set the Tone King, it's reasonably clean, but just above the level where it's crystal clean. And this pedal and this guitar and this amp just work perfectly for the sound that I would be looking for from it. So I could have had the bass tuned up a bit more just to give a bit more body to it, but I think in a live setting this would be ideal. And as I rarely play the amp without the attenuator on, I'd forgotten how loud it is. It is a loud, big, booming amp. Really amazing reverb, actually. Pretty special even compared to like the vintage Vibrolux. Yeah, enjoy that one. Okay, what have we got next? We have, this is the Tone Master Super Reverb. Again, I didn't use the attenuation on this. So loud. Let's hear it and we'll talk about it afterwards. So if you've been on my channel long and watched videos with the Tone Master, you know my opinion of them, which is that I think they're a great step forward for modeling amp design and a really good hybrid of using a real guitar cabinet and speakers with the modeling amp. I do think they're 85% of the way there, and in a band mix, I'm sure no one would even really know. In terms of playability, very close. When you plug pedals in, some pedals sound really good, and some pedals sound a little bit more processed-y. And in this case, it was like an imitation of the real thing. That's what I can hear. It sounds good, not incredible, but I'd be happy with it. You know, this amp is so light, and with the attenuator, if you want a super reverb character with quite big bottom end and all of that, you want to play Stevie Ray Vaughan stuff, the Tone Master is just a really great amp, and I think it's more than good enough, right? But you know, it's not necessarily the most spine-tingling thing, but I'm happy with it. Again, it shows that with these Fender amps, you know, even at that high volume, it's still really quite clean. You know, that's what they were intended to be, really. I think later when the Silverface amps came out, they tried to give them less headroom. I might be wrong with that, but I think they did, so that you could get a bit more overdrive out of them. But really here, you want to choose a really high quality pedal like this to go with your clean Fender amp, and you'll get a lot of those classic tones that you know. It's that real perfect marriage. Okay, here's the last one. Here's the Universal Audio Dream 65 Reverb pedal. Okay, I'm recording through this UA Dream for the first time, direct in. I've got no idea if this is going to work, but let's find out. This is just the Dream. At all. Okay, it was strange. I had my headphones plugged into my preamp so I could hear what was being recorded, but there was something wrong with the way it sounded, and I didn't know whether the pedal was going to actually create a good sound or not until I'd recorded and then listened back, and it sounded fine. But there was some weird garbled noise I need to figure out in the headphones. So what do I think of this? Well, I've had this pedal since it came out, and I saw loads and loads of hype all over YouTube. And although I'm a tiny YouTuber with 6,000 subs, I'm well aware that, you know, if you've been watching me for a long time and I'm a consistent YouTuber, you might put some stock in my opinion. So if I'd come out with a video on the first day and just agreed with everyone else, this is the best modeling thing you can buy and you should go and buy it, and buy all 3 pedals and they're all fabulous and it will rock your world, then I'd feel bad if a couple of weeks later I sort of then had to shit on the pedals a little bit because I didn't love them. And so I didn't really want to do either. I just wanted to treat it as any other pedal and just use it when it's suitable. And I think in this one it is suitable to see how a pedal affects an amp. Well, let's see how a pedal affects a modeling pedal amp. My overall opinion on the Dream is it's okay. Yeah. I mean, I heard, like, in Anderton's, I mean, I enjoy Anderton's videos, but they're selling us stuff, and I often fall for it as well. And, you know, Lee Anderton said something like how it had blown all the other modelers out of the water, even the Kemper, I think he said. And I just don't think that's true at all. Now, but this is a lot cheaper than a Kemper, and I think that's where the interest comes in. This is very good for its price. It's probably better than a lot of the amps you're going to find at this price point. But this isn't the whole thing, is it? It's not a cabinet with a speaker. It's a recording device or a practicing device. It's fine. And to play live, I'm sure you could also do it, and no one in the audience would be any the wiser. And so if you're not particularly purist or bothered by whether it's valve amp, modeling amp, valve amp, solid state amp, or any of that, and you just want to play the music and get on with it, I think that's what this is. It's the most convenient tool to get a there or thereabouts sound. I find it annoying that the Bluetooth doesn't connect properly most of the time. Sometimes I have to unplug and plug back in the thing 3 or 4 times. That's a pain in the ass. I wouldn't rely on changing the presets during a gig on the phone. And overall, I just don't think the hype is quite as valid. But that's what the industry's there for, isn't it? To push hype through on new products. I get it. And lots of people are going to love these, and especially if they've not had access to some original amps, because this gets you close, you know, close enough. I need to play with it more. I don't know if I'll make a standalone video on it. I'm just not that bothered or interested by it, I've got to be honest. I would be interested in trying the tweed one, I think. So, look, but despite what I've said, I'll probably give away this pedal in a giveaway, because I think for a lot of people it would be a great thing to have. Apartment settings, small recording setups, playing live gigs where you don't want to carry an amp around. And this could be better than a backline amp. So I will give it away. It's not the next giveaway though. I did say if you get to the end of the video, this is the next giveaway. The Protein. I think that's a blast to give that away, because the left-hand side of it is one of my favorite ever pedals. And I've got that now as the Carbon, which is the standalone version of it. And I have my own green voiced ODR1 pedal, the Shanks, that I love. So I don't need this half, I never use it. And so I'm going to give this away, one of the best pedals I've ever had, one of the most desirable, and that's going to be the 7500 sub giveaway. I'll mention it again in most videos, and I'll do a video, you know, where it's a bit more central to the theme of the video. But if you want to, if you don't sub to the channel already and you want to win this, you've got to subscribe and comment. And we start now. Who knows, this could be 4 or 5 or 6 months away, this giveaway. It could be less. Hopefully in time for Christmas for someone to win it. So yeah, John, hit me up in the comments and send me an email to the email address in the description. Congratulations on winning the Duellist. Hope you enjoy that. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video. It was just one of those fun ones. I think we sort of answered a question. Someone asked, as I said, the question was, does the amp make more difference or the pedal? And I think it's all about finding the perfect marriage for you. If you've got a clean pedal platform amp, then you can probably get a lot out of lots of different pedals. But if you have an amp that you love to hear slightly cooking, it might be harder to find a pedal that goes with it, but I think that the overall end result could end up being even better when you take a really characterful amp that allows its character to come through in some sort of overdrive or edge of breakup, and then the pedal sort of marries with that just to give it a push or add some other character or fill in some element of the EQ. That's my overall opinion. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one. I think I need a couple of days break before the next one. Cheers.